Good morning. I'm sorry for being late. Well, in fact, this session is starting a little bit late only because of me, because I'm not being very sustainable in managing my time. Uh, when I was challenged to to deliver a keynote speech today, all I knew is that I would talk about something about sustainability. The first question that crossed my mind was that am I as an individual sustainable enough to be given to be giving this speech today? And that took me back to a place in time, like around 5 years ago, when as many of you probably took this online test to measure my carbon footprint. I'm sorry, that's not my fault also. um, and I realized that if all the people in the planet behaved as I did back then all the resources available in the planet would deplenish in about 4 months, like all the resources available in a given year, of course. And because of that, I decided to make some changes in my lifestyle. Just to let you know, I moved the place where I moved to a new place where I can not be quite as much dependent on car as I used to be. So actually, nowadays I can even go to work without using my car, which is quite good. I started to changing also my dietary requirements, and I stopped eating some meat. Nowadays, I only eat like white meat, and I started also buying more local products because I realized the carbon footprint that comes with consuming a lot of imported products. I start traveling a lot less, a lot less also for personal purposes, and uh, and I decided that I would pay more for my electricity. So nowadays I have like this 100% renewable electricity uh, support contract. So I think that today I am much more sustainable than I was like 5 years ago. I may not be as sustainable as I should be yet, but I think that I'm on the right path. And the question that I would like to ask you today is, are all of you in this path towards sustainability? And when I mean all of you, I mean you as individuals, you as companies, you as organizations. So I think that's a question that we must make. What are you doing in order to embrace like an approach of co-responsibility towards the prevention and the alleviation of environmental damage? And I think that most of us don't make this question uh, many times uh, during the year, or many times per day at least. Uh, the concepts of corporate environmental sustainability and social responsibility are not new, as you all know. In fact, they are much newer than the concept of sustainable development itself, which dates back to the mid-80s, when the World Commission on the Environment published the Brundtland report on this matter. But even before that, the scientific community was already talking about many issues related to sustainability. Today, we talk a lot about climate change, and we think that, well, this is a problem that appeared recently. But in fact, when we go back in time, we know that climate change has been discussed in the scientific community community for more than 70 years now. So it's not a new issue. Um, well, all of this to tell you that I think that it took some time for organizations to realize that they had to become more environmentally aware and more socially responsible. Recently, these concepts, especially the concept of environmental sustainability, are pretty much related to the recognition that all of us, all members of society, play a role in reducing our waste, our carbon footprint, in maximizing the efficient use of our resources, of minimizing the activities that might compromise, like the enjoyment of resources by the new generations. Even though in many companies and in many countries, this corporate approach towards sustainability has been stimulated by the legal framework in place, there is nowadays a growing concern by organizations on the role they play on sustainable development. In the sense that they acknowledge the positive or negative impacts that their activities may have on future generations. In some particular cases, this approach is even seen as a necessary condition for the survival of organizations, as it is no longer socially acceptable to create economic value without having any sort of concerns for the environment, for the planet, for the society. Nevertheless, some companies are quite aware that being sustainable can also be a source of being more profitable for them, and to extend their survival in the markets. And this has led them to engage in not so good practices related to greenwashing. Well, I will stop here because I do believe that the people that are gathered here today are really committed to sustainable development and not to these green washing practices. Let me just allow me just to share you some of the practices that we in Águas Porto, I am the CEO of Águas Porto, have been doing for the last few years in order to commit to sustainable development. Of course, it is more easy for a public utility such as we are to commit to this kind of objectives, but at the end of the day, we could opt to do our business as usual and not have a great impact on the environment. But that's not our option. Águas Energia do Porto, for those who are not very familiar with the company, is responsible for managing the entire urban water cycle of the city. When I say the entire water cycle, I mean from water supply to wastewater and stormwater drainage to the operation of two wastewater treatment plants with tertiary treatment. To the management, and I think that this part you all don't know, to the management and rehabilitation of streams and rivers, to the monitoring of the quality of bathing water, to the valorization of the seafront areas. So this is the entire urban water cycle. 1 year ago, we also integrated in our company another sector, which is the energy sector, at the local level. And so now we are trying to find like a way to really create this nexus between water and energy, because we think that there's so much that we can exploit when we join these two sectors. All of this to let you know that sustainability by default is in our DNA, as it should be. Sustainability is in fact explicitly inscribed in our mission, and in order to pursue this mission, we always make sure that our new projects and initiatives, they have a positive impact on society and at the end of the day on the environment. Just a few examples of our most recent projects. Since 2018, we have a photovoltaic park in our headquarters that produces more than 500 megawatts of energy per year, and that allow us to be self-sufficient for most part of the year. It powers all the buildings in the campus. It also charges our electric vehicles. In 2020, we recovered an extinct profession here in Porto, which was the profession of river guards. River guards, they are basically the people that monitor the quality of water in our streams. They are in charge of removing the waste in our streams. They are in charge of making some works in order to stabilize the margins of the rivers and streams. They are in charge of detecting if illegal discharges are being made in the streams and compromising our water. So at the end of the day, their role will ensure that the quality that runs in the streams is water with quality. In 2021, we launched a plan for the valorization and rehabilitation of the water courses of Porto, which is part of our strategy for the adaptation of the city of Porto to the effects of climate change. This is also something I think that you don't know, that in every intervention that we make in our streams, we have this concern to use nature-based solutions. We have this concern to also create retention basins that can accommodate the excessive flow that runs off whenever there's this peak of rainfall. So at the end of the day, we are putting the security of people and goods in our priorities. And just let you know, in a few months, we will start the construction of the first renewable energy community here in the city of Porto. It will probably not be the first renewable energy community in Portugal, but it was for sure the first one that was advertised in the newspapers. So we were sort of pioneers in this area. So just to close this keynote speech, I would also like to share you that in addition to these initiatives, we are also we, Águas, Energia do Porto, we are also joining a number of deals, pacts, and agreements created between entities in order to promote a collective commitment to ambitious sustainable development goals. This is the case of, for example, of the Act for Nature Portugal, promoted by BSCD Portugal in order to preserve biodiversity, the Declaration for Adaptation and Mitigation of Climate Change in Water Services, promoted by the Portuguese organization APDA, and the very recent Porto Climate Pact, which I think some of you may have already heard of, which has been promoted by the municipality of Porto to bring all members of the civil society to this goal of carbon neutrality by 2030, so in less than 8 years. So as Porto has been selected by the European Commission as one of the 100 cities of Europe to lead carbon neutrality in Europe, I would like to take this moment to invite you all as individuals, as companies, as organizations to subscribe this pact and to help us to really achieve this huge goal, which is to be carbon neutral by 2013. And well, this is all I had to do. I wanted to share with you like this journey that I made to become more sustainable. The journey I think that companies and organizations should make to become more sustainable without engaging in greenwashing practices. I'd like to share that we at Águas do Porto, sustainability is really part of our DNA, and in every single intervention that we do, we also think about the impacts that we are making on the environment, society, and whatever. And at the end of the day, to invite all of you to help us, City of Porto, to become carbon neutral in the future. And thank you so much for listening to me.